Welcome to the show that ultimately is the father of great internet radio. It is the Mike Sasson Show, and yes, I was loud right then and there because that's how we like it here at the River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com, where you get the best local music and the best talk. My name's Mike Sasson. Over there is producer extraordinaire Alex Clemens on the board, and today we've got a very special Father's Day show because we want to thank all the fathers out there, especially the ones that are not good at their job, which produces most of the really awful people in the world. So thank you to those people. But guess what? We're going to talk about wonderful things like the new Mr. Rogers documentary. Me and Alex both saw it this week, so we'll give you our thoughts. Also, in my new segment called I'll Fix This, I fix the medium of television. You're welcome. Also, two separate studies. One study shows that women absolutely love dads. Also, men are getting stupider, especially if you're in Norway. So both I can believe. Also, in Fresh Eyes, I ask Alex to watch videos from Tiffany and Debbie Gibson, teen idols of the 1980s. I'll get Alex's take on that. Again, you are listening to The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com, or you're watching us record live on Facebook Live, or after the fact on Facebook, or you're listening on the TuneIn Radio app across the planet Earth, or you're listening on many of the podcast formats, either Google Play, iTunes, or SoundCloud. So thank you very much to everyone who listens to the show. But one of the things that I always find interesting is once a week we pick like maybe one or two of the segments that we break off, and we pay Facebook a little bit more money to boost and get it into more people's feeds and everything like that so that more people discover the show. But one of the things that's interesting about it is you get back numbers and you find out who and what age of the people and the genders and everything like that of the people that are listening and watching the segments on the show. So typically what we find is that we're a pretty 50-50 split amongst men and women. And also we're typically, I would say the average age of the person listening is probably late 20s, early 30s. That's about the average person, Alex.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But this past week we had a segment in which we talked about how last week there was just a massive amount of public nudity. There was the public nudity in the city of Pittsburgh with the two joggers running around the city butt-ass naked. Also, there was the female at the Las Vegas Arena who flashed the Washington Capitals when they won the Stanley Cup. And so it was a funny segment. It was an interesting segment. So I boosted it this week.
You forgot about my my streaking.
And
that public nudity.
Also, and Alex is streaking, which could lead to the reason why we had some very interesting demographics for this week. So we promoted it. And again, as I mentioned before, we typically have a 50-50 split amongst men and women. Not this segment.
No.
Out of everyone that watched it for 3 seconds, 16 women, 189 men. That is the biggest split I've ever seen in terms of the difference in genders between watching a segment or not watching a segment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know even what that means.
I mean, does that mean that the women who watch the show didn't want to hear about public nudity? Does that mean the men who listen to the show really wanted to hear about public nudity? I don't know.
I feel like of those two options, probably number two is very likely.
I mean, do
I
women?
feel like a lot of our.
I would feel women like public nudity. It's
Yeah,
fun.
but I mean, like more so that our male viewers really love public nudity.
Yeah.
Not so much that our female viewers don't.
Yeah, but only
that-
16 listen. That's a rejection of the whole concept of talking about public nudity.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I didn't watch it. I just,
You lived it.
did it.
Yeah, you lived it.
I was there.
Yeah. But and then on top of that, another demographic shift. The vast majority of the people who, as you could see, 25 to 34, 50 of them. 35 to 44, 57 of them. So pretty even. Then 45 to 54, 92.
That's my age range.
There's your age range. Anybody in their late 40s and early 50s really wanted to hear about public nudity.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't have any stories about public nudity. So I guess if you are a man in your late 40s and early 50s, we apologize. We could do a show just specifically in which we talk about, we'll just have a show we'll do separately just called Alex and Mike Find Stories About Public Nudity.
Yeah, that's the show that will have the Jello fights and stuff on.
Yeah, that's the one where really it gets kind of risque. This one's for the kids. This one's for the kids. And speaking of a show that was for the kids, it's becoming one of the biggest documentaries in recent memory. And actually, I found this article from Variety, which is like the paper of record in the entertainment industry. And the Fred Rogers, the Mr. Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, is becoming a gigantic hit. Like in the summer with big, huge action stars and big, huge stars, superhero movies and all this kind of stuff. A documentary about a children's host that has been passed away for 15 years is absolutely crushing it at the box office.
Yeah. I mean,
so, it's interesting. And the way that in the headline that I thought was interesting was it said that Fred Rogers is the rock star of the modern era of 2018. He's the new Mick Jagger.
Finally, though, it only took how long for him to become that of our era?
Well, one of the things that I think is interesting about the article that was there and about the movie itself was it really painted him as a radical, as someone who was like a very kind of avant-garde artist. It wasn't because when Mr. Rogers was on and I was a kid, people made fun of him.
Yeah.
He was a dork. He's in a sweater and he was an older guy and his show wasn't very exciting and it wasn't something that, like my mom commented that when I was a kid, I wasn't a giant Mr. Rogers fan, and I commented to her, I was like, yeah, I guess even to this day I need stimulus. Yeah,
I could absolutely see that. I would never guess you to be a fan of him when you were younger.
Yeah, I didn't hate him, but it was one of those things where I'd watch the show and I'd just be like, he's feeding fishes.
You could tell just by people's personalities now, who would have liked him as a child, because you can tell, like you said, there are people who need more stimulus in their everyday lives and in their television shows.
Well, let me ask, were you a fan of the show as a kid?
Yeah.
So your mom told you would sit there and you'd watch the show. You were a big fan and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I even watched it a couple years ago. They put all the episodes on Netflix, and for a good couple months straight, I just watched that every morning while I was drinking coffee and eating breakfast.
It's a very soothing show.
Yeah, it's a nice way to start your morning.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that I thought was a little ironic. I mean, you actually saw the documentary first earlier this week.
Yeah.
And then you messaged me and I messaged you and I said, hey, how was the documentary? And you went, awesome. And I go, all right, I'll see it Sunday, the day we record, because that's my a day I had open. I didn't have a comedy show or whatever. So I'll see it early morning. So I woke up early on a Sunday, about 9 a.m., because I knew there was a 10:30 showing at the waterfront in Homestead.
Yeah.
So I get up, I go all the way out to Homestead. I get there right at 10:30. I go up to the person. I go, okay, one for the Mr. Rogers documentary. And be honest, I felt a little weird being a grown man by myself going to go see the Mr. Rogers documentary. But the thing is the person behind the counter went, we canceled the 10:30 showing.
Why?
And I'm like, yeah, I didn't even ask. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, sorry, the next one's noon. And so I got a free pass. There we go, sorry, here's a free pass and whatever. So I had a little bit of time to kill. So I started, it was a nice day here in Pittsburgh. So I started to drive around the city, and I was like, you know what? If I go get breakfast somewhere, I'm not just going to go to a chain restaurant. I'm going to go to some place unique in Pittsburgh and maybe get, a unique breakfast since I'm out here anyway. And so I'm driving through Oakland, driving through all this place, and then I realized, hey, I'm pretty close to Squirrel Hill. And the Manor Theater in Squirrel Hill is the other place in the area where they were showing it.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
Yeah, and so I parked my car and I went and saw it, and I saw it there. And then afterwards, after the feeling that you have afterwards is you really start to look at, and when I walked out of the theater, it's a bright sunny day. It's Murray Avenue on a bright sunny day. Everybody's walking around. And I'm sitting there going, you know what, the world's a pretty nice place. I started walking around, everything. I don't know if you know who Philly Phil is.
No.
Okay, he's a gentleman who did comedy, and he's like a fixture downtown or in like congested streets. He panhandles for money, but also he's a comic, and it's just a real interesting character. And he's really into social media, and he knows me, so I saw him. I go, hey, Philly. He goes, hey, Mike, love the show. So I was like, okay, this is an awesome day. I got the bright sunshine, saw a really cool movie. Philly Phil says he watches my show. Everything's great. And then I realized why I believe this was just perfect, because I Googled where in Pittsburgh did Mr. Rogers actually live, and guess where he lived? Squirrel Hill.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of people watching this movie, but very few of them actually watched the film in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a unique way. They had to cancel at 10:30. Nothing against Homestead, but you know what? You had to watch the movie in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Now, couple of things that I picked up on it. Like I mentioned before, the point of the documentary was, yes, this was a children's show, but this was a man that really was on a religious crusade, using television to try to reach children. And also, everything that you think about Mr. Rogers, or at least you perceived him to be, really was complete opposite. Like, everyone said, oh, he's kind of a dork, he's whatever. And no, this guy was really avant-garde. I was thinking about this today when I was trying to describe it. I was like, if you went up to someone and they're like some cool dark comedian or something, if I did a TV show, I do a kid's show about death. And I'd be like, yeah, Mr. Rogers did that.
Yeah.
Or I do one where I talk about assassination. No, he did that too in 1968.
Yeah.
Or I do a show where I would just sit there and it'd be total silence. No, he did that too. And you're sitting there just wait, all of these weird, outlandish ideas, he did that.
Yeah.
And that's incredible to think. And then also people sit there and say, oh, he's just a little wimp or whatever like that. No, this guy, first off, just like I mentioned, people were making fun of him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a human being. He had to have heard it. On Saturday Night Live or Johnny Carson or anything like that, they're calling him, people are making stuff up about him, saying he was a Navy SEAL, or they're questioning his sexuality or whatever like that. This guy just stayed the course.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this is my show. This is everything like that. And so you think, no, he's a little wimp. No, this guy was a strong-willed. Again, this was a religious crusade for him.
Yeah.
Also, people, it's just a simple show. I mean, he's just sitting there, and everything was thought out. Everything was every script was brought through, apparently, and I didn't even know this, again, makes it proud to be from Pittsburgh. At the University of Pittsburgh at the time, there was almost the epicenter of studying early childhood development, and he worked with these people. And he said, no, I want to create a show that helps kids. And so he talked to Dr. Spock. He talked to these people to be like, okay, this is the type of show. Well, and they're like, okay, if you're going to do this type of show, this is how you should do it and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so it was a very thought out show. And the other thing about it was, again, like they talked about, he goes, if you thought of, the antithesis of everything that a television show should be, weird host, no production values.
Right.
And on top of that, they shot the thing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And to me, I think it's very much, as a person who does art in Pittsburgh, the show had to be done in a place like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if it was done in New York and LA, I think eventually even a strong-willed person like Mr. Rogers would have succumbed to the fact of, hey, you know what? You could make some money if you sell those dolls. If you could make some money, if we could make it a little snazzier, we could maybe bring in some different actors, or maybe do some more celebrity cameos or all this kind of stuff. And Now, he had celebrities on. I remember he had Lynn Swan once, and but like it wasn't about the celebrity cameo. It wasn't about bringing on Paul McCartney to sing a song. No, he bring Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And I think if he wasn't in a place like Pittsburgh, where he could keep costs down and he could kind of be like by himself type deal, I think it would have changed the show completely. And he really was kind of like again, it was a religious crusade, but he also was a tortured artist in a sense that, okay, was this guy real? Yes, he was genuinely a nice man, but he did question himself. He did question even to the end of his life. Did I really make a difference? Did I really just kind of waste my time?
Yeah.
Because children's television never really changed per se. It was still people trying to sell things, people trying to make a buck. And I really think as a performer, if you could take anything from Fred Rogers, it was, if you really want to make an impact and you really want to be remembered, number one, don't talk down to your audience and don't hate your audience. Because I think there's a lot of people that do children's television shows that don't respect kids and really are just there because it's a place where you can make a buck.
Yeah.
And they're just trying, okay, how can we quickly sell toys?
Yeah, silly gimmicks to easily make kids laugh.
Absolutely. What stupid Joe, we throw, we'll have people throw green slime on them, or we'll shoot up something, or we'll scream at the top of our lungs and all this kind of stuff. So you saw the film. What did you think of the film? What did you?
Well, I mean, I've always loved Mr. Rogers since forever, and my store just came out with a Mr. Rogers line, so I've gotten to kind of get back into it recently. I've looked up, a lot of stuff about it, learned a lot of interesting facts that I didn't know before, and also I get to see people come in every day and get excited about it and then tell us a lot of really cool stories about knowing him, I literally met one of his old neighbors. And just really cool stories that I get to hear. But I think seeing the movie, no matter, even if you didn't like Mr. Rogers as a child or still don't really like him now, you can't not admit that he wasn't a good person. He was absolutely a good person, and he was a person that is off screen and on screen. I think that's kind of the hardest thing to be, is in your work life and in your personal life, you carry over completely. It's not you're changing into a different person. You know what I mean?
And we talked about that, like you said, you met neighbors of him and everything, and we've talked to people that have met him. Again, living in this town, it's not a big town. If this guy was a jerk at restaurants,
right,
or if this guy walked into places thinking his fecal matter did not emanate a foul odor, we'd have heard about it.
Yeah.
No one's ever heard about that kind of stuff.
I had a woman come in once about a year ago and told me that Mr. Rogers owned a sweatshop. And I was like, no.
Which is not true.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Also, everything else that you have said to me today, woman, has been absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not believing
his mother made his sweaters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, why would that even be a thing?
But I think that comes back to the point that there are real cynics out there, and usually the sad part about being a cynic is you're a lot of times right.
Yeah.
In that, that person's different. This is fake, and then you learn years later that he hit his wife, or that you learn years later that his kids hated him, or you learn years later that he was sexually assaulting women, whatever. And it really does sit there and be like, you know what? Everyone's a fake. Everything's BS. But again, this guy, he was genuinely, it was a religious thing. And one thing that it comes up, and I remember when the Fox Newses of the world were coming after him.
Yeah.
Because they sat there and said, the reason why we have a bunch of kids that think they're special. And by the way, this was in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
So this whole thing about millennials being every generation, when they're in their teens and 20s, everyone thinks that they're the worst generation in the world and everything like that, which is why I do make fun of the whole millennials are ending the world. No, they're not. They're just new, and you got to kind of get used to them. But the thing is that the concept of, the reason why we have a bunch of kids that think they're special is because Mr. Rogers said, you're special, and you don't have to work and try to be better and all this kind of stuff. And what he was saying was, no, I was just trying to pretty much say what Jesus said,
right?
Which is, hey, we're all children of God, and because of that, you have worth.
Yeah.
And I like you whatever you are and what situation you're in. And as a child, I think he knew that you know what, he's not talking to every child is in a great situation.
Right.
There's a lot of kids out there that are watching the show, and like you said, you watch segments and you listen to testimonials and all this kind of stuff. There were a lot of stories of, you know what, I was in an abusive household and everything was loud and everything was, violent. But for a half hour a day, this kind man would talk to me and I would feel better and he would tell me that things are going to be okay.
Right.
And all this kind of stuff. And that's what he was trying to do. He wasn't saying, no, you don't have to do anything. You're special and you never have to work a day in your life. It's no, you have intrinsic value.
Yeah.
And because of that, you shouldn't have to be embarrassed if you're, rich, poor, black, white, gay, straight, whatever, whoever you are, I love you and God loves you.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite things about him is in the show, like he covered those hard topics which typically people don't talk to kids about or will kind of gloss over it. And those are super important things for kids to know and like be able to have someone there that's like, okay, this guy will tell me the truth and like in a way that I understand and I can relate to. Like he talks about divorce and like you said, like assassination and stuff. And they're very easy topics that he could have just completely not done. And he could have kept with, simple, basic children's television.
It's tough to talk to adults about those situations.
Exactly,
As
yeah.
a comedian, I do sit there and be like, okay, I want to talk about this. And you try and people kind of go, ooh, those are trigger words that I don't get. But like you talk about assassination, it's a funny family story. In 1963, when Kennedy got shot, my aunt was like, 4 or 5 years old. And, and on the radio, they kept on talking about an unknown assassin just shot the president. An unknown assassin just shot the president. And she's like 4 years old. She goes up to my grandma and goes, why are they saying we shot the president?
Oh my God.
Why are we saying we didn't? We're in New Jersey. No assassins shot the president. But the thing is that people don't understand is that, like, when you're a kid, you hear things literally.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's tough because, like, whenever you talk to a little kid, you do have to realize that if you sit there and say, oh, because the whole world's stupid and you're stupid, the person now thinks, oh, I'm stupid. I'm a bad person because I often say that, like, when your parents suck, you're like, it's Father's Day. When your father tells you you're a piece of garbage, that's the richest guy, that's the biggest guy, that's the smartest guy when you're 5 years old.
Yeah.
And if the richest, smartest, biggest guy tells you you're a piece of garbage, it's very difficult at age 5 to have enough wherewithal to say, you know what, there's something going on in his life.
Right.
Yeah, he's just having a bad he's had a bad day at work.
Yeah.
No, you think, oh, if the richest, biggest, smartest guy I know says I'm a piece of shit, I must be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And so he knew that. He realized that, especially later on when, again, I think early on he was just like, hey, this is something I do. This is a thing I have. But I think as more he went out and people would come up to him and go, when I was a kid, I'd see you and and I didn't have this. And especially when people forget that for most of his show run, most people had 4 channels.
Yeah.
Okay, you had NBC, ABC, CBS, and PBS. And so at 10 o'clock, unless you wanted to watch a game show, pretty much the only kids show that was on was Mr. Rogers. And then you'd watch Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And maybe then later on in the 80s you got cable. But even when you had cable, you might have had 25 channels and maybe 1 Nickelodeon.
Right.
So again, if you were a kid, you had, unless you wanted to watch Price is Right, you watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now, 1,500 Disney's channels or all that kind of good stuff. So I guess the point that we would kind of make is, A, see this movie. B, Fred Rogers was a good man. And as a performer, the only thing that I could say that I would take from him is really just his drive and determination to do it kind of his way and not be really concerned about anybody else's feelings or thoughts about what you're doing is right or what's wrong or what the critics say or whatever. It's like, no, if you've got If you know what you're going to say, stick to that because people are going to listen.
It was really inspirational. Like, I walked out of I saw it at night because I was hoping that the later I saw it, the less people would be in the theater, and I was not correct, and everyone still saw me cry. But, like, I walked out of the theater, and it's one of those things where, like, I want to immediately change, like, not who I am as a person, but, like, how I act towards others from seeing this, you know? Like, I was like, oh, I want to be, like, really nice to everyone. Like, I want to smile at everyone, you know? But it's not one of those things that you can kind of just change instantly.
No.
But I think is a great inspirational documentary to kind of work on those things about yourself and kind of see who you are as a person.
When the final scene happened, and the final thing was Mrs. Rogers says thank you.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the last song that usually whatever. The lights went on in the theater, nobody moved.
Yeah.
It wasn't something where everyone's like, typically if you're seeing a Mark Wahlberg movie, you're like, okay, crap, I wasted $8, whatever, I'm out of here. People just stood there. People just sat there.
Yeah.
Like silent. Like we were just whatever. And okay, the question was, Mike, did you cry? I didn't full-edge cry, but I will say that there were moments where you teared up a bit.
I brought a whole thing of tissues with me because I figured, knowing me, I would be bawling like the entire time. I only actually cried at the very, very end. And of course it's like right as, like you said, like the lights came up and everyone's like, okay, like everyone's crying. Like, let's take a second here.
Well, it's like this past week I saw, and I think I sent the interview to you. It was Jim Carrey, where he talked about that when he was doing Man on the Moon, he did method, which means he in his mind he became Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
And when that happened, he was Andy Kaufman for 4 months. He would not answer to anything but Andy. He was Andy Kaufman in his mind. And then when that ended, for about a month, he had a tough time transitioning. And then he had this epiphany. He's like, wait a minute, if I could just become somebody else,
right,
then who is Jim Carrey? And then you realize when you think about it, it's like everything that I thought was Jim Carrey was just the ideas of Jim Carrey.
Right.
I'm just a collection of my ideas. And if that's true, then you could change an idea. And so when you talk about like, hey, this movie would make me want to be a better person.
Yeah.
I felt that same way. It's like, you know what, if I did walk outside with this idea that everybody here is of value and is, quote unquote, my neighbor and we're in this community, then that's a good thing. And I become a better person because of it. And then the whole point of is, okay, yeah, that's an idea. Being an asshole you're not physically an asshole. You're just, that's the idea that you have about how you should act. And your actions dictate your ideas.
Yeah.
Whether you hate certain people, whether you, feel a certain way about, women or, blacks or gays, whatever. Those are ideas you have. Those aren't what you are.
Right.
And so if you have an idea and you could change that. And so that's what those two, it's weird that those two things happen this week because it is kind of like in my mind making me go like, you know what, Mike, really evaluate what you believe and who you are because what Mike Sasson is just a collection of ideas.
Yeah.
And one of those ideas is that we have to take a break because this is the River's Edge. And when we come back, Alex is going to be talking about one of her favorite subjects, and that is DILFs because it's Father's Day, and Alex loves DILFs every day, especially on Father's Day. Again, you're listening to The Mike Sasson Show on The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com. And again, like The Mike Sasson Show page on Facebook or on Instagram or on Twitter, or, and make sure if you have any comments about the Mr. Rogers documentary or anything else we talk about, put the comment on our Facebook page and we will respond to you in kind. Again, it's The Mike Sasson Show. We're right back.
Right. You know that Kevin Slogic, my State Farm agent in Allison Park, is here to help life go right and reminds you that you're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network.
Come on, go! It's green! Come on! Go!
God damn it, Brian. You need to calm down
I'm
with the road
sick
rage.
of these people, these assholes.
It's the road rage, man. You gotta calm down on the road rage.
Well, I'm on I want to get to where we're going. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We're going to Falling Water,
Bicycle Heaven.
the Mattress Factory,
Tuck Knob.
Trundle Manor. All right, which way do I go? Which way do I go? Come on,
right,
come on.
Right.
Too late now.
Right, come on.
Too late now. I got to keep going. I'm not going to sleep like some asshole.
Oh, come on, man.
All right, you're listening to The Culture Cruise. You can find us at riversedgepgh.com.
Your local Pittsburgh area museum podcast.
Yes, riversedgepgh.com, and come take a ride with us.
You are listening to The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com, where you get the best local music and the best talk. And this is the Mike Sasson Show. Thank you very much for listening or watching on Facebook Live or on The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com or on TuneIn Radio or on any of the podcast formats, SoundCloud, iTunes, or Google Play, or you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you very much again. And remember, like the Mike Sasson page on the Facebook or on the Twitter or on the Instagram. It's what the kids do if you want to be with it. And everybody knows that if you listen to this show or watch this show, you are definitely with what the kids believe. Also, what one of the kids love to do, they love to drink. They love to tell you about it, which is why our super producer, Alex, does her segment called Bar Thoughts and Experiences with Alex. Alex, play your theme song.
Maybe y'all can relate. My style's dope any way that you slice it. It's a fresh cut, hope that you like it. About to open up a can of some cancer when it come to pizza.
All right, Alex, that was the great theme song about pizza, making me hungry. By the way, when I went to Squirrel Hill, what I did was, because it was such a nice day, and that's like on Murray Avenue, there's all those places to eat.
Yeah.
So I just walked into a pizza shop, got a slice. Then I walked into another pizza shop, got another slice. Then I walked into a deli and had a sandwich. Then I walked into another place and had a bagel egg sandwich.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. God was with me there.
I went to the Murray Avenue Grill after I saw it, and the bartender there is amazing.
In what way?
She was just like, she was so friendly, and I guess all of the people that were at the bar like go there all the time, but then she like knows all their names and stuff, and she was just like talking to them. She was just like, you're just hanging out with your friend at the bar, and like, I've never been there before, but she made me feel very welcome.
She's a modern day Mr. Rogers.
She really was. I wrote her a nice little note.
There you go. That's
I was
what
like,
Alex
this is my
does.
first act of being a better person.
That's the first act of being a better person is Alex. And her second act is her segment, Bar Thoughts and Experiences with Alex. Alex, what is this week's Bar Thought about?
Dilfs, happy Father's Day. We're going to talk about the 5 reasons that you should date a DILF.
Okay, 5 reasons why you should date a DILF.
Number 1, they are most likely more patient because of children.
But here's my thing.
What?
Okay,
Oh.
I think there needs to be
Already ruining this.
I'm not trying to ruin it. I'm trying to make a distinction.
Okay.
Okay, because there
We're
are...
talking about DILFs with kids this time, okay?
Okay.
Is that the distinction?
No. Okay. DILFs. There are dads. In my opinion, to be a dad, you have to be in direct proximity to the child and be taking care of said child within, a decent amount of time.
Right.
Like the kids in your domicile, maybe you're divorced and it's only half the time or whatever like that, but you are taking care of a child. Because there's another set of people who I'm not a huge fan of, and that's just dudes with kids.
Right.
Dudes with kids, and they don't know where the kid is, or the kid's in another town, and they whatever, that kind of stuff. I don't have a lot of respect for them. Dads, go for it.
That would be DWK ILFs.
And we're not a huge fan of them.
Right.
Yes.
We don't like those.
Yes,
Some people might like those, but we don't like those.
Mike
we
Sasson
like
Show is-
dads who take care of their kids.
Yeah, you got to take care of your kids to be with Alex Clemens. Remember that. I'd appreciate that.
Or just don't have kids, too. That's
okay,
fine.
what are those 2 things? Yeah, go ahead.
So they're more patient because they have to raise children, and that takes a lot of patience.
Absolutely.
Less drama because they are over that shit already.
Over that shit already.
They are over that shit, and they're not going to start like fights about little stupid jealous things and stuff like that. They're more mature than that. They've gotten over that.
They've gotten over just the BS. They just want some loving.
Yeah, they just want some love, and they just want to have a nice time and be with someone who's a good person.
Because here's the thing, and I'm not trying to be whatever, but they are auditioning a possible mother. Because, again, if it's a DILF and the kid's in direct proximity, that means ultimately if it becomes something long-term, you are then immediately into a mother-like role.
Right.
So you got to make sure that you're not only are you getting someone that's, amazing in the sack, but then afterwards can make some kids some Fruity Pebbles.
See, I'm more looking for short-term DILFs,
Okay, short-term DILFs.
Short-term DILFs, not looking to be a mother of someone else's children.
Okay.
They can fix your shit because they have to do that all the time.
Yep.
And that's just like a
Do you think that when
fact of dads.
My dad couldn't fix anything. That was his big thing. He had 8 kids, couldn't fix a damn thing.
What?
Couldn't fix a damn thing. If it wasn't like directly easily fixed, like if it wasn't like, okay, put police in here, he was that no chance he could fix it.
Yeah.
Couldn't fix a fridge, couldn't fix anything. I told you a couple weeks ago, I still to this day do not know how to fix a tire or change my oil or do anything.
Yeah, you should learn.
I don't know anything. I pay people.
Yeah, check your oil?
I know how to check my oil.
Okay.
I just don't know how to put it in. You have to go below and screw out something and let it go into a pan and shit. I don't know what it is.
One day.
One day,
when you become a dad, you'll have to learn how to fix shit.
No,
I don't know if that's just like a thing that you just start learning things whenever you become a dad. Like you have to.
Here's what I'll learn here, kid. I'll go, son, this is a credit card. Let's go to the place. Let's wait in there. Let's watch the news while the nice gentleman changes the oil.
That's teaching them some good stuff there, Mike.
And then here's a 50. Make sure you tip the man.
Don't do anything for yourself.
Mm-hmm. No, make
Other
enough
people do it.
Make enough hardcore cash so where you can make sure people take care of that.
Well, the dads that I'm dating are not going to be like that.
Okay.
They'll fix their own shit
right,
and
good.
my shit.
All right, good.
Because they're nice people.
Mm-hmm.
They're less pushy,
Why is that?
They're not, they're not like super rushing into like, oh, I want to get married and I want to have kids. Like they already probably did that. They already got their kids, so they're not going to be pushing you into that really extreme relationship. You know what I mean? At least not right away. And like you said before, they're going to be looking for someone for their kids, so they're going to be a little bit more cautious and probably take things a lot slower.
You'd think.
So you won't be pushy.
Or maybe they're sitting there going, hey, I need a mom for my kid by like this September when school starts. Let's get some going.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I hope people don't do it that way.
I don't know. People are weird. I don't know what's happening in the world. I stay in my house and watch Mr. Rogers reruns. Go ahead.
Number 5, most importantly, better lovers.
Why is that?
They experienced it already. They're older. They got it. They did it.
They're older and they got it.
They got it and they did it. They done it.
They know how to work the
They
know how to work the merchandise.
Yeah, exactly. They've been there. They've been around the block a few times.
Yep.
They had children, so they had to have had sex at some point.
That's right. At some point, they had to have sex. Now, here's my thing with if a guy has 1 kid, I'm still a little. That could be a mistake.
Yeah.
2 kids. That means you're so good that the woman sat there and said, you know what? I went through the 9 months. I went through labor. I still went back for some more D.
Yeah.
That's some good D.
Yeah. So 2 kids. We're looking for 2 kids.
2 kids
beautiful
plus.
DILF.
And the fact you take care of your kids.
Yes.
And you spend time with your kids.
Yes.
Exactly. And then Alex is all about it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm all for it.
All for it.
Get at me.
Hit her up. Do you realize? I love every week you legitimately like going, hey, men age 47 to 54. I'm like, yeah, every week it's like, why I like DILFs, why I like older dudes. And then you're like, I don't know why these people keep on messaging me.
Well, they don't listen to my specifications. So that's the thing. I did get recognized this past week. I was at a concert at the KeyBank Pavilion, and these 2, we were in like this VIP lounge area because I'm important shit, know. And these 2 dudes came up to me.
What was the concert?
30 Seconds to Mars.
Okay.
I didn't even stay for them.
You went all the way to KeyBank Pavilion and didn't even stay for the headliner?
No, yeah.
That's like a 45-minute trip.
I didn't really want to see them. And it was also pouring. Like, pouring.
Then why did you go?
Well, I went in the first place because I wanted to see one of the other bands that was playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, all right,
I mainly wanted to see them. That's why I was going for it.
Okay.
Saw them.
And
cool.
you were like, all right, I had my VIP experience. I saw the other band, and I'm out.
Yeah, we chilled out, drank some, and then.
Cool. What is the name of the VIP room?
It's just like an outside little pavilion.
Okay.
I don't think there's a name.
Okay.
It's just like VIP lounge.
Okay, cool.
Anyways, these 2 dudes came up to me and they're like, wait, are you Alex Clemens? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, we know you from the show. And I was like, oh, cool. And they were like, yeah, the Mike Sasson Show. I was like, yeah, obviously. I don't do any other show.
I wouldn't know if you went. I don't know. If you want to do another show, you can go ahead and do it.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, dude, we listen to it all the time. Like, we listen to every episode, blah, blah, blah. And they were, they had just played on stage. They were like the opener to the opener, basically. So they just played on stage, and they're like, and then after that, they went back to their friends, and they were like, ah. It was really exciting. I had to, like, take a step back for a moment and be like, wow, this is really exciting. Because I know that you get people coming up to you, but, like, and I've had comedians and stuff come up to me and be like, hey, you're Alex, you know? But it's never been anyone outside of, like, anyone that I would know, you know?
Like you sitting there saying there was no connection to me. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm a friend with Mike, so I watched the show. It's, hey, this is a completely different out of the sphere person that it digs the show.
Well, technically, they know Brian.
Okay.
And, like, had followed the River's Edge.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, this is the River's Edge, you know, the music scene and everything like that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the Absent-Minded Professors, that's who they were.
Good deal.
Listen to them.
Thank you very much, Absent-Minded Professors. You know, make sure you keep supporting the show and keep supporting Alex and her endeavors in getting DILFs. So thank you very much, Alex, for this week's Bar, Thought, and Experience.
Hey, you're welcome.
And so here comes my segment in which, as I mentioned before, I don't know how to fix anything mechanical, but I know how to fix things in my mind. Like last week, I fixed the Miss America pageant. You're welcome. And this week, I'll be honest with you, inspired by Fred Rogers, and how he wanted to help children's television, I'm going to help television in general with my new segment, I'll Fix This. Play my song. All right, so here's how I'm going to fix television. Step one, Alex. First one, fire everyone that currently runs a television network or decides what shows to be on, because they clearly need to, like, do something else with their lives.
Yeah.
They need to, like, maybe, become, like, own, like, a lawn and garden shop.
Ooh.
Or maybe perform sex acts for money at the bus station.
That's a little much.
Or something that doesn't mean they pick television shows, because 99% of television shows are complete ass. So the people that picked said shows should not be allowed to pick said shows anymore.
What if they changed it and they had all of the people that pick television shows pick radio shows, and then they just switched?
Like all the people that pick radio shows, or all the people that pick internet radio shows. Basically, I want Brian to run a network and then just pick us. Yeah.
That works.
Let's just do that.
Let's just do TV.
Yeah. Let's just be it. We're essentially a TV. Well, I've told you, like, there have been people that have approached us because they've sat there and looked at our Facebook and went, like, that's a TV show. And I'm like, you're right, it is. What would you be willing to pay us? And they're like, oh, no, I will not pay you money. But what you will get is total consciousness. I'm like, no, I need money.
They said, that girl deserves to be on TV. What are you keeping her away from the world for?
I clearly broadcast this show for everyone, so I'm not holding anyone back. Anyways, okay. So number 2, less violence, but more nudity. And if you want to swear, go ahead.
More accepted nudity.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want, like, porno or anything like that.
Right.
But
we just want everyone to be cool with seeing everyone's nudity.
Yeah. I just like, okay, if, see some boobs, see some butt, see some boobs and butt. My problem is every time, especially CBS has shows where, like, I'm sitting there, and again, I love me some Predator. I love me some Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then some Sylvester Stallone, Rambo, and Die Hard and stuff like that. So I'm no prude when it comes to violence.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching a network television show, which I rarely do, but sometimes, you're going through the channels and you see it, and you're seeing, like, machine guns and people getting, shot and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is network television, and in no way can I see a beautiful woman's butt.
Right.
In no way can I see some nice set of nipples. Why not?
Right.
Why?
Seeing people get brutally murdered. Yeah,
yes.
Why can't I see some boobs?
Yes. That's all I want. End with the violence, more boobs. And I'll be honest with you, I think Fred Rogers would agree. If you had a choice between the two, between seeing mass numbers of shootings or 2 people expressing love and a nice set of boobs, he'd probably be for the boobs. I'm just saying. That's how I believe. Okay. Number 3. Certain networks need to understand what they are and stick to that. I'm speaking of ESPN. I'm sick and tired of ESPN, the sports channel, not wanting to be a sports channel anymore.
What do? They
do comedy, and they sit there and they show stupid stuff, and everyone's trying to be funny. I'm just like, dude, Sports Center, tell me who won yesterday.
Talk about sports.
That's all you do. Like, okay, this was one of the dumbest things. We talk about like people who don't know what the hell they're doing. So, like, last year, ESPN had to, like, fire 500 people.
Right.
Because they're losing a bunch of money. Then they go out and they hire Jalen Rose, Michelle Beal, and Mike Greenberg. And they build a gigantic studio for $10 million in New York City. And they do a morning show in New York City, when they have a beautiful, a big complex in Bristol, Connecticut, which is only like an hour and a half away, and they do this morning show called Get Up. And oh, by the way, all it is just three doofuses talking about sports, but in a beautiful theater with like beautiful studio with windows out to like the Hudson River and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is stupid. Especially when you just fired 500 people and this is what you put money into.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the ratings for it compared to last year when all they did was just show Sports Center, which is scores and highlights, are down 20%. Because again, these people who pick television shows have no idea what they're doing. No, if someone were to come up to me and go, hey, instead of doing scores and highlights, which is exactly what Sports Center and ESPN is supposed to be, let's just get three people talking about sports and have a beautiful vista of Manhattan. And I'd be like, no, don't do that. Don't try to be the Today Show. You're not the Today Show. You're ESPN. Show scores, show games. That's it. The occasional 30 for 30 documentary. That's it. That's all you do.
They should try and come up with their own sport in that large facility.
Yes. It's eventually what's going to happen is the only reason why the show's already hasn't been canceled is because they put so much money into it. And oh, by the way, the guy who came up with it eventually got busted for coke, and now he's not even the head of the network anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
You can't be a head of a network if you do coke?
Well, you can't get busted with the coke.
Oh.
You can do the coke.
Yeah.
A lot of people do the
low.
coke. Yeah, you just can't get caught with the coke.
Right.
There you go. Also, no commercials during the news. And when the guy's talking about the news, I want one conservative and one liberal. And when the guy does the story, if they think they disagree with it, they throw like a challenge flag in the NFL. And then he doesn't argue with the guy. He just says, this is what I think about the story is untrue. Here's my source. Boom, here it is. And then they move on.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I think the whole fake news, liberal conservative type BS ends right there because it's like, okay, there's a Republican, there's a Democrat, he's the guy going to do the news. If he thinks they're doing something that's unfair, boom, they just threw the challenge flag. The other thing that I would do, and this is for like elections and stuff like that, I'm sick and tired of when like they do the debates and someone says something that like goes, because 55% of all immigrants steal people's cheese. And you're just like, is that true? Whatever. This is 2018. Google it.
Yeah.
Google it immediately. Just go, okay, time out. Google that. Is that a fact? And then like 2 seconds later, some guy who's really good at computers goes, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
That's it. That's awesome.
We should honestly just have more challenge flags in everyday life.
I want that's what, if there's anything that the NFL should have more of is challenge flags. Because everyone loves the concept of challenge flags in life. Somebody comes up to you, a cop comes up to you and goes, I think you were speeding. I think I wasn't. Challenge flag. Your boss sits there and goes, I think you were late. Nope, challenge flag.
Mr. Rogers has a sweatshop. Yeah, challenge flag.
Challenge flag. Boom. That woman was probably just insane. Yeah. Anyways, so honestly, how about just this for life, not even TV, just challenge flags. I think if that could be our thing, Alex and Mike really try to push people into just more challenge flags in life.
And then we brand them when we become millionaires.
But here's the thing. Should we do the Fred Rogers thing and just kind of be about the message and not make it about the money?
I mean, but we got to make money somehow.
Yeah. Poverty is not cool. Anyways, number 5. TV shows need to be made in other places besides New York and LA. Reason why is like, I just think that a lot of times, first off, it's amazing to think how many shows are about rich people. Like you watch some of these shows and they're in like a New York apartment that, like you already talk to a New Yorker and be like, that apartment in that neighborhood costs $5,000 a month. and he's like a mailman.
Right.
And there's like, okay, that's so whatever. But
Yeah.
like, again, and if you're going to make a show about like a family in Illinois, shoot it in Illinois.
Right.
If you're going to make a show about some, guys who work in a steel mill in Cleveland, go to Cleveland. There's television studios there. And oh, by the way, they shoot movies in Cleveland and Pittsburgh and St. Louis and Cincinnati and stuff like that. So the people exist there, and people move for their jobs all the time.
Yeah.
Why do all the TV shows have to be made in like this one square block area of Los Angeles? Hence
They
the
just
reason.
want all of the worlds to connect. I think that's
Really,
it.
it comes down to like, do you know Warner Brothers actually started in Western Pennsylvania?
No.
The Warner Brothers were from Newcastle. And so initially, some of their first films were shot in Western Pennsylvania in Youngstown.
Yeah.
And then the problem is at the time, a studio they weren't like big giant lights, so they needed sunlight. So they sat there and went, well, Western Pennsylvania and Ohio, there's no sunlight. We need to go to places where there's a lot of cheap land and tons of sunlight, which is why they went to Southern California.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It had nothing to do with anything other than, if you ever watch the movie Chaplin, where they show you like the early days of Hollywood, a movie studio was legitimately a warehouse without a roof.
Yeah.
And that's how they lit the thing. It was all through sunlight. So, but now we don't need that. So
We should have that, though.
yeah.
Let's just get the roof off this place.
When we get like our show on network television and we get like the thing, then yeah, we could do up the studio. We'll have
don't
like
want
a
a
big
roof.
You don't want to move?
No, I don't want a roof.
Oh, okay.
No roof.
You know roof.
Natural sunlight. I know
Natural-
you won't be okay with that, though. You'll, like, burn and...
I could be, as long as there's gigantic. I've thought about this. If ever I do a TV show, I'm good on TV. I mean, obviously people see me on like Facebook and all that kind of stuff, and I have been on television shows. The key would be the studio would have to be insanely cold, or I would have to have like air conditioning literally shot into just all over me.
Yeah, you have, like, these special air conditioning clothes made for you.
Well, like in NFL teams, like they had like for hot days, they had like shoulder pads that would connect to like a tube that would be air conditioning the people.
There you go.
And I would have that all the time. So it would
Yeah.
only make me cold, and then you would be fine.
Yeah. And I'm, like, soaking up the sun. I'm, like, more tan than I've ever been in my whole entire life.
Do you tan?
I do. I don't really go out in the sun that much, so it takes a lot for me to get tan. I have to, like, completely burn to a crisp first, and then I can get tan.
This past week, like on one of my off days, I went to Heartwood Acres, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to jog 3 miles because I'm going to be physically
not?
fit, whatever. So I start jogging, and it's like 90 degrees, and I'm like, okay, I'm physically fit, whatever. Eventually, it just was so hot. I mean, I did the 3 miles, but like I'm sitting here going, this is such a dumb idea. And I'm starting to feel like the sun on my face and everything. I'm just like, this, and I'm sweating and it's stinging my eyes and stuff. And I'm just, this is such a horrible idea.
Yeah.
But that's how I keep this awesome body. Anyways. All right. And the last idea. If someone has an idea, then they have the idea. The reason why is I'm sick and tired of there being 97 singing competition shows.
Yeah.
One singing competition show. Everyone else, if you didn't get the idea of a singing competition show, you don't get to have a singing competition show.
And you can only have another singing competition show if you have a competition with the other one and prove that you are better.
Yeah, you can destroy the other singing competition show if you have a competition which says, hey, our idea for the singing competition show is better, and then you go head to head, and then they say, okay, because I think most of primetime television now is a singing competition show or a dancing competition show or just America's Got like talent, which is just,
And it's really like people only watch like one. Like my parents, well, I guess my parents are they watch a couple, but like they only watch one of each category. Like they only watch The Voice. That's the only singing one they'll watch. Mm-hmm. But then they watch like one of the dance ones and then America's Got Talent.
So they watch and America's Got Talent is everything.
Yeah, and so you only need one of each.
But then, and this is one thing that this is slightly off topic. So initially when Last Comic Standing started up,
yeah,
the concept was supposed to be we find comics like they do singers in American Idol. But their biggest concern was, if we don't find people that are already like comics for 15 years, then they won't have enough time and they have to eventually have like a half hour. And I'm like, dude, if you pick some guy out of Cincinnati who has a solid 20 and you then give him 3 months in like comic boot camp with like writers and stuff like that, he'll come up with more material.
Yeah.
It's not like, but they were worried about it, so then they just found whatever. Who cares? I don't know. But I'm just saying there should be only one of each, and if you aren't the one, then you're screwed. You have to come up with a new idea.
Yeah.
See? Fixed television. There you go. Thank you very much to everyone out there. You didn't really do anything, but thank you anyway. Next up, we're going to have the segment in which I legitimately was trying to find the most 80s thing I could ever find, and I think I did. I had Alex watch teen superstars of the 1980s, Tiffany and Debbie Gibson, watch their videos. We'll go over that. We'll see what Alex thinks about Tiffany and Debbie Gibson next on The Mike Sasson Show. You're listening to us on the River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com or on TuneIn Radio or on any of the podcast formats. We're going to be right back.
Brian Crawford letting you know that Kevin Slogic, my State Farm agent in Allison Park, is here to help life go right and reminds you that you're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network.
You are listening to the River's Edge Radio Network at www.riversedgepgh.com or on TuneIn Radio. And remember, make sure you like the Mike Sasson page. Also, if you want to hear me do comedy, you can this upcoming week at the Pittsburgh Improv. I will be at the Pittsburgh Improv Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with Colin Chamberlain, local comedian extraordinaire, and Adam Ferrara, the national headliner. So it's going to be a really fun time. If you see me, say hi, and I will say hi back because I'm a nice guy. Anyways, so every week I try to find things for Alex to watch. She's not a huge fan of the 1980s. No. So when I saw a couple articles about Tiffany and Debbie Gibson, I thought, you know what? First off, we haven't had anything female in a while. Last time I think we had a female performer. We had Madonna, which, by the way, if you haven't listened or watched any previous shows, Alex really didn't like Madonna.
No.
And so I was sitting there going, I wonder if she's ever seen teen heartthrobs from the 1980s, Tiffany and Debbie Gibson. So I said, you know what, Alex? Watch some videos of Tiffany and Debbie Gibson and give us your take on Fresh Eyes. And so it has its own theme song, because that's how we do it around here. Play the song.
There's no love like a country girl with money.
Little background on these two. First off, we'll talk about Debbie Gibson. I gave you two pictures of Debbie Gibson and Tiffany. One is of them now, or now-ish, and one was of the 1980s.
Let's do 1980s first. I like to see the transformation, you know?
So first off, let's go with the first picture. Describe the picture to the people who would be listening.
They're very 1980s. That's basically it. Large hair, looks like you know when you like were in high school or middle school and you look back at pictures and you're like, why did I do that? Why did I dress like that? She's like super big hoop earrings on. They're both wearing jean jackets, which I'm totally cool with.
Yeah, which you currently are wearing a jean jacket.
Yeah, I could fit right in. I could be them.
There you go.
Yep.
Now show the picture of them more nounish.
Nounish. Exactly who I would picture them to grow up to be. Mm-hmm. What's her face?
The redhead is Tiffany. The blonde is Debbie Gibson.
Right. Yes. Because I never like anyone named Debbie.
Okay. Well, that was one of the things she tried to do later on in her career when she did Playboy in the mid 2000s. She became Deborah.
That's worse. Deborahs are worse.
Do you think she should have just been Deb Gibson?
I just think she should change her name altogether. Just do something completely different. Change your name to, I don't know. Any other name.
Any other name
Alex.
in the world. Fred Rogers. And you'd have been like, okay, good.
No, but as exactly Tiffany, I would have assumed that she would be exactly like that as an adult. She's just showing her tits and she's just like, yeah, I'm really cool. I'm a little rock star. I'm cool.
By the way,
let me show you my stuff.
One of the things that was one of the great moments in any young man's life, and I don't know if Playboy's going to do this anymore, but or in movies, I don't know if you've ever had this moment where you saw somebody as an adolescent and you're like, wow, I really hope someday to see them naked. And then both Tiffany and Debbie Gibson were in Playboy 6 months apart. And I was like, Thank you, God.
Have they done other, like, what other things have they done with their lives besides this music?
Debbie Gibson she probably had the more accomplished post-teen heartthrob career. She was like on Broadway. She's actually a very accomplished singer. Like she could actually she's got great pipes. She can really actually sing.
Really, because it really didn't seem like that.
Oh, well, we'll discuss. And then, so she's been in some stuff, but now, yeah, she's been in Playboy, and she's been working on and off. Tiffany kind of fell off the map a little bit. She didn't really do anything, and she's been on, like, Celebrity Fit Club and stuff like that.
Yeah, it seems right.
Yeah, a little bit of background on both again. Debbie Gibson, first album was in 1987 when she was 17 years old. It was called Out of the Blue, went triple platinum, and her song Foolish Beat, which I had you watch, she actually was the youngest female artist, and still is the youngest female artist at 17 years old, to have written, performed, and produced a #1 single. So at 17 years old, she actually wrote that song, produced it, and sang it. So, whatever. And then after that, she did a follow-up called Electric Youth, which I didn't have you watch, which, like, it's so 80s, even I was a little bit taken back by it. But that also went, like, double platinum. And she had, like, 4 or 5 top 20 singles, all of the songs she wrote, which I think for being under the age of 20 and to write that many songs is not terrible, whatever. And then in March 2005, she was in Playboy. Then Tiffany, she didn't write any of her own songs. She actually, one of the funniest moments, I think, in like documentary history, she had 2 really big songs. Both of them were covers.
Yeah.
One was I Think You're Alone Now, and then she also did, instead of I Saw Her Standing There from the Beatles, she did I Saw Him Standing There.
No.
So he did that. But she became, at 16, the youngest female artist with a #1 album and the youngest female artist ever to have 2 #1 singles straight back to back. Her album, Tiffany, actually sold 4 million copies, and she's almost famous for, because she was so young, when they were trying to promote her, they actually made her perform in malls. So in 1987, she had the Beautiful You Celebrating the Good Life shopping mall tour of 1987, and that's how they promoted this album, and it was a huge success. And because of the fact that, like, shopping malls are dead, but back in the 80s they were alive and well, she would just go from shopping mall to shopping mall performing in, like, food courts and stuff like that. And you actually see in the video her doing that. Now, in that, and this might taint your view of Tiffany, but she discovered a group of boys from Boston who became her opening act. That opening act was the New Kids on the Block.
Oh, my God.
Which, obviously, is Donnie Wahlberg was in that. Because of that, it got New Kids on the Block started. Donnie Wahlberg became famous. And because of that, Mark Wahlberg got an opportunity to be a singer. So, in a way, Tiffany is responsible for Mark Wahlberg.
No.
So, go ahead. What were the first one?
I really liked her before.
Yeah.
I loved this video beforehand.
Okay, go with Tiffany. I Think You're Alone Now. That's what I had you watch. What'd you think of it?
I was literally, because I watched the other 2, Debbie's first. I watched hers first, and I was literally, like, excited to see this one just because it was something different.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, maybe this will be better. This will be good, right? Right?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't good. I love how, like, she's just singing. The video, she's singing in the mall, and she literally has bodyguards holding people back in the crowd. Like, people are gonna fucking stampede the stage while she's singing I Think We're Alone Now. I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. Why are you holding people back? It's literally just like a bunch of old people in the mall, and they're like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, we're at the Orange Julius, and all of a sudden some 16-year-old girl's singing. Yeah, let's watch her. It's not like they're gonna kill her like it's like, like 19. Again, it's the hype. It's 1964 and the Beatles, and here's her singing her song and stuff. But.
Yeah. But this is legitimately, I don't know if you watch How I Met Your Mother at all.
Yeah.
I don't really watch the show, but I've seen this episode multiple times where Robin, like, she has a crazy secret, and her secret is that she was, like, a teen.
That's how, that's what they based it on, is these
That's
videos
what I
and stuff.
figured, because I was like, this is exactly that premise, that she's singing in a mall, and she has this absolutely terrible teen song.
Yeah.
But, like, what were people fucking thinking in the 80s?
Okay.
Like, what were they doing?
In what way?
In every way. To think that any part of this song, of this music video, was like a good thing.
Well, first off, it was wildly 4 million albums sold.
I know, which is just absurd.
Yes. And I think it was just this was a precursor of, again, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. And I think at the time, again, Pretty Girl singing Happy Song. So Pretty Girl singing Happy Song does well.
Yeah.
And I think, it was of the time. It was, again, the 1980s. Everyone was going to the mall. It was, it was a song that was for 15-year-old girls. Feel-good song. The other thing that I thought was interesting about Tiffany was, again, I talked about the documentary that was funny. They talked to her when she was in, like, her early 30s.
Yeah.
And she talked about that it ruined my career because they didn't let me, like, express myself, and I couldn't like produce, and I had ideas, and they let him. And then immediately they cut to the producer, who's like this old, like, 60-year-old dude who's, like, been producing albums since, like, the 40s and stuff. And she looks in the camera and goes, she was 14 years old. I put the $1 million up. Of course I'm not going to fucking listen to her. Of course I'm not going to, like, sit there, what do you think? No, this is my album. Sing the damn song.
Yeah.
Which, everyone always talks about that. Oh, when I was like, Leif Garrett's talked about that in the 70s. Like, oh, they just made me sing these songs. And I'm like, dude, you didn't know what the hell you were doing. You were 15 years old.
You're making huge cash flow.
Yeah, just shut up and sing the damn song.
This music video literally looks like something that me and my sister could have done whenever my dad gave us his video camera when we were younger. Like, we used to make music videos all the time. And I remember the one specifically, I can't remember what song it is, but I'm literally in the hallway of our upstairs. I'm wearing this, like, fur coat and carrying my saxophone case. And I'm just, like, looking like I'm walking down the street and, like, mouthing the words. And then it cuts to me on my bed, and I'm just like, yeah, and just, like, dancing around, like, on my bed. And that's what it reminds me of, like, because she's dancing next to this train and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is so artsy. Like,
well,
no.
I mean, again, it's weird to think that, like, and I've made this comment, on your phone, you have more technology in your phone to make movies than George Lucas did, who made Star Wars.
Yeah.
And again, in 1987, 86, that was high technology. That was, everyone didn't have all that kind of stuff. And so you're talking about 10 years later when you would be making those videos. 10 years later, it became, like, I remember when I was in TV class, it was the mid-90s, and the big thing was that Terminator 2 had come out, and there was the whole morphing thing. Yeah. And, like, the molten lava. And they talked about that in CGI cost the movie like $20 or $30 million to do. Yeah. And it was so amazing that we got the computer program at our school that could make it to where we could morph and all this other kind of stuff. And you had to, like, put pixels on everything like that. And now you could probably morph using your phone in, like, 2 seconds and all this kind of stuff. But again, that's just technology and all that kind of good stuff.
They should have just kept it. Just keep it simple, you know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of simple, now I would sit there and say the most 80s out of them was the first video from Debbie Gibson, which was Shake Your Love. That was, when that came on, I burst out laughing. And I said this to you because I'm like, this is, if someone were to say, show me the video that represents what the world was in 1987, I would send Debbie Gibson Shake Your Love.
This literally reminds me of, Rebecca Black's It's Friday song. That's what it reminds me of, like that of the 80s. Yeah. Like some young girl, just like her parents had a lot of money and they're like, here, go make a song. And it's not like she's like extremely pretty or like an extremely good singer. She's really, in these music videos at least, like not a really good singer.
Well, but the other thing is that, like, the Shake Your Love video was actually she was in a car She was just standing in a car, which, again, is a way to kind of work around the fact that she can't dance.
Yeah. Oh, my God. She can't dance. She stole so many of my dance moves.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like, I was watching. I was like, oh, my God, she can't dance, but this is how I dance.
If someone wanted to make a music video in which people would dance, this is what they'd have to do. But that's the trick they do with Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
When they put her in the Jeep and everyone would dance around her. Or, like Whitney Houston, they used to do that where everyone would dance around her. And the funny thing is Paula Abdul actually did choreographed the video, and this was off that she did like the Nasty video for Janet Jackson and stuff like that. So this was actually a big deal to, it was more very choreographed, but again, the most 80s clothes, acid wash everything.
The transitions and like colors and stuff, everything.
Then it came to the second song, which was Foolish Beat, which again was her number one song. Go ahead.
Wait, first of all, why is Shake Your Love so goddamn long? It's like a 5-minute long song.
It's like her Stairway to Heaven.
And she just sings the same thing over and over again. Like, we get it, girl. You can't dance.
Yeah.
This is an annoying song.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it 2 minutes, 2.5.
Yeah.
Maybe. No,
she really needed to make sure everyone knew that she could not shake the dude's love.
Yeah. Oh my God. I literally was fast forwarding through parts of it. This is the same thing.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Now, the second one was, again, Foolish Beat, which, again, the number one song. So what did you think of this one?
I thought that the first one was the most awkward thing that I've ever seen, but I was wrong. This is absolutely the most awkward video I've ever seen in my life. Like, she's just sitting there at, this coffee shop, and she's just, camera right up to her face, and she's just mouthing words. She's not on with the actual song, and it is so awkward. And then there's one part in the video where she's just walking by the water, and she's wearing a fucking trench coat, heels, and then this giant ass green bow in her hair and glitter on her face. And where did you come from? What are you doing in this?
Well, the thing that is kind of striking is both people in the videos, Tiffany and Debbie Gibson, compared to 10 years later with Britney Spears.
Yeah.
They dressed these girls like they were in a nud's habit. They were not provocatively dressed.
Not at all.
Tiffany was in a sweater and jeans, and like you said, Debbie Gibson, who was 17 at the time, was legitimately dressed like she was a 45-year-old mom.
Yeah, or had been homeschooled her whole life.
Yeah.
That's honestly how she feels to me, is that she was a homeschooled kid, and then she's like, I want to make music videos. And she did. And then somehow she made a lot of money off of it.
Well, I think between the two, Debbie Gibson was supposed to be the talent, and Tiffany was more of better looking. And so that's kind of how things that's how I guess that's how they kind of played off each other.
In these videos, at least, I really don't, neither of them seem like very good singers at all.
Now, between the two, who would you say is least repulsive?
Oh my God.
You sound like Tiffany is the lesser of the two evils.
I would definitely say Tiffany, only because she makes me feel less awkward. When I watch Debbie's videos, I literally cringe that someone did this, and they have to look back at this look at how awkward I was.
But again, 17. If someone tried to make a video when you wrote, produced, and sang the song when you were 17. There's a good chance when you look back on it when you're 30-something, you're going to look pretty awkward.
Yeah. That's why I'm so glad that no one ever did that to me.
Yes.
It's I remember I had to dress up as Hannah Montana once for a party at my dance studio. I had to dress up as her and lip sync some of the songs for these kids. And if someone had videoed that, I think it would have been pretty similar to these music videos.
Yeah.
So thank God no one ever did.
Thank God nobody ever did. Please, if that video does exist, please show it to us. That was Fresh Eyes. Thank you very much, Alex. Now we move on to news and notes from the world of entertainment, gossip, and all sorts of stuff. Play the song. As I mentioned before, it is Father's Day. So a recent study was shown from the internet and dating platform Zoozik, whatever, surveyed 3,000 single women and analyzed 300,000 messages, and they found out that 92% single ladies find single dads insanely hot.
This guy's hot.
There you go. Basically it said 92% of single ladies are open to dating a single dad, while 55 being very open. And this is an increase from 2016, where only 83% of single women surveyed said they were likely to date a single father. So I think your movement of the DILF is becoming more and more mainstream.
Yeah.
92% say they'd be totally for it.
It's only because of me.
Probably you're a trendsetter. Couple things, like you mentioned the reasons why you'd want to date a DILF. They actually asked the women, and this is they actually asked actual women. No, but here's what they found. It goes, 26% says he knows he's no longer the center of the universe. 15% say he's more caring.
Yeah.
9% says he's more patient, like you said. 41% says he's more responsible. Except for the fact that, he got a girl pregnant, whatever. And 9% says he's more thoughtful.
Yeah.
So, again,
I'd say all of those are true.
All right. So he says DILFs are big. And also this survey said that dad bods related to dads are what women want. 86% of women said they're totally okay with the dad bods, with nearly a quarter finding them attractive. In fact, the term dad bod in a message makes it 41% more likely that you get a response from a woman.
What are you saying in that message? Hey, check out my dad bod.
Hey, do you want to eat anything and know that I will not judge because it looks like I have like a melted, like I'm a melted candle in my back? Do you really like it that I look like I'm carrying hot dogs underneath my armpits? Then guess what? I'm your dude. Probably wouldn't help.
Why are you carrying armpits under or hot dogs?
It looks like I'm carrying hot dog, So that's what I'm saying. That's the whole dad bod thing.
I didn't get how that looked. I got it.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, and also they said dad jokes are in. More than half of women, 55%, think that dad jokes are a great way to break the ice. And millennial women find them even funnier, saying 66% saying they enjoy dad jokes as pickup lines.
Yeah.
So dad,
absolutely.
I think you are leading the charge to helping in terms of getting dads to be more sexually available to women.
I might be just changing a whole I might be creating more families.
Absolutely.
You're
talking Fred Rogers changed the world. You're changing the world.
Yeah.
The other thing that the survey said is that about like 70% of women say they still appreciate it. They think it's romantic if, when they are about to get married, the guy asks the dad for his permission.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if someone doesn't do that for me, I'd be very angry.
Really?
Yeah.
So what happens if the dad says absolutely not, and you're just like, I was just kidding the whole time? What happens then?
I don't know. I don't think my dad would do that.
You think your dad, if somebody came up to you, like even if he was like just the worst dude in the world, be like, hey, me and your daughter, we're gonna go elope in Vegas, and he'd be like, what am I gonna do?
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, if it was the worst dude in the world, I would hope that he would say no, and then just really actually watching out for me, and then later on down the road, once I get over it, I'm like, you know what, Dad, you were right. Thank God I did not marry that man.
Because I moved on to an even hotter dad.
Yeah.
There you go. Always dads are hot right now. Also, speaking of relationships, this story was maybe one of the worst I've ever heard. And again, I've been doing this show for nearly 2 years. A good percentage of stories are about horrible relationships, but this one might take the cake. So there's this guy in Canada who's going to school in Toronto. He's like the greatest clarinet player you could possibly ever fathom. This guy is like the Eddie Van Halen of clarinets. He's awesome.
Okay.
So he sits there, and there's this special scholarship to where you can go work with this guy out in Los Angeles who's like the clarinet maestro. And if you work with this guy for a year, which, by the way, the scholarship that you get is room, board, tuition, housing, money, whole 9 yards. There's only 2 of them that are given out a year. And you work with this guy all day, and because you work with this guy, you're immediately, every symphony in the world wants you to work for him. So it's like a big deal to get this scholarship. So he has to go through like 5 live auditions, all this other kind of stuff, fill out all this kind of paperwork, probably like get a visa, all this kind of stuff, make a cake, whatever, to get even a chance to maybe get this scholarship. So then he gets an email that states, sorry, we've decided to go with somebody else.
No.
We're not going to give it to you. So he's thinking, you know what? Life sucks. What are you going to do? So he decides to stay in school in Toronto and finish out his career, finish out his thing. But then he says, you know what? I really want to work with this guy. So he decides to move out to Los Angeles and take a partial thing at the University of Southern California to where you don't get like the total like immersion with this like super duper clarinet dude, but you get to meet him and work with him a little bit.
Yeah.
So as soon as he gets out there, the clarinet dude comes up to him and says like, hey, you realize that I can't believe you're here. You're one of the only people in the last 20 years that has ever turned down this scholarship. And he goes, I didn't turn down the scholarship. You turned me down.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, no, I didn't turn you down. I sent you an email that says, hey, I want you to be here. Turns out that his girlfriend at the time didn't want him to leave Toronto, so she found a way to hack into his computer, delete the email, and send another email saying that. So, again, in the 2 years, have you heard a worse story? That's terrible, this psycho woman.
Oh, what would you even? Oh man, just what would be your reaction to that? What would you do?
Well, what he did is he sued her. He sued her and said, this is going to hurt my career, all this kind of stuff. And he thinks he won because the woman just completely just said she never admitted it per se, but they found out that, yeah, this is totally what she did.
A crazy bitch.
She crazy. And apparently, like, he's winning like $300,000, which he even admits, I'm not getting any of that money.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about like just the lowest thing you could possibly do to another person. You know that he's like the clarinet maestro. You know that the world needs to hear his beautiful clarinet music. And you're stopping him from going to LA to work with like the greatest clarinet guy ever because you want to be with this guy. And you don't tell him. That's just, I've never heard of a worse situation ever in terms of just a crazy woman being a crazy woman.
I would absolutely think about killing her.
It's just, you can't obviously kill her, but I would say
you could get someone else to kill her.
You would definitely be thinking about it. And I think with this evidence, I think most courts in North America would let you go.
Yeah, honestly. If I was a judge and I heard that story, I'd be like, you know?
Do we really need this crazy woman talking around?
Right.
But that's like, could you imagine if, okay, a dude did that to you? You're a chance to work with the greatest, whatever, broadcasting person is through the world, and a dude that you're kind of going out with makes you think you were failed.
It makes me furious just thinking about it, like my insides.
It just makes you really understand why sometimes it could be DILFs and MILFs. Go with those two people because maybe you decrease the chance of crazy.
They would never do that.
Exactly, because they have children and that's what happens in the world. Speaking of terrible people, Deborah Messing, who is not a terrible person, but this story is like, it made me really question whether I want to be part of the entertainment industry. So she's having a conversation with Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone is interviewing her for Hollywood Reporter, Variety, one of those magazines. And she's talking about just like all of the things that she's had to do in the entertainment business because she's a woman and how guys have mistreated her and all this kind of stuff. And they're both telling stories about people going, oh, no, you can't do that. You're the pretty one, all this kind of stuff. And the one that took the cake was Deborah Messing gets her first job on a sitcom. She's just graduated from NYU acting school. She's absolutely like out of the world talented. She does her first couple tests. She walks into the dressing room, and the person who works in the dressing room hands her, I guess they're called cutlets. You put them on your boobs to make your boobs look bigger.
Yeah.
And she sits there and goes, well, what are these? And she goes, well, put these on. You got to put these on. And she's just like, no, I'm not putting these on. What is this? She goes, no, you don't understand. The head of the network just called and stated that you need to get bigger boobs and you have to wear this. And the thing that gets me is, can you imagine your job, what you do in your life is watch television shows and you actually call and say, yeah, that woman's got to have bigger boobs, click.
Yeah.
Like, what a horrible, like, that's someone that, like, you talk about with the woman who ultimately, like, ended the clarinet guy's life. This person, if you're the head of a network and that's what you do all day, how do you, like, go home and think that you're doing anything positive for the universe?
Yeah.
That you honestly sit there and say, you know, hey, boobs need to be bigger on the girl in the sitcom. And you're just like, horrible. It made me and it really made me question even being part of the entertainment business, because I'm just like, if I go and I meet people like this, I don't know if I want to be in this industry. I'll just stay in Pittsburgh and just do comedy shows at VFWs and Scott Township and just be whatever.
What if they tell you need bigger boobs?
I don't know how I could get bigger
Giving
boobs.
you some cutlets.
But, like, could I theoretically have bigger boobs? I think for a man boobs, I don't have saggy ones. I have bigger ones. That's one thing I'm proud of. I don't have saggy man
Maybe
boobs.
I should not have brought that up.
Yeah. What do you mean?
The boob thing.
Right. Because I'm now going into different types of man boobs.
Into depth about your man boobs.
I'm just saying there's different types of man boobs. There's
Yes.
bigger chests, which I agree I have. Then there's, like, man boobs that legitimately, if you just took a picture of them, they legitimately look like female boobs.
Yes. Breasticles.
Breasticles. I don't have that. But I have met men who do have them.
Yes.
And we want to help them.
Yes.
Just like Deborah Messing.
Get some cutlets.
Get some cutlets. Now I'm thinking about chicken cutlets. Also, speaking of the entertainment business and why people who run networks and movie studios are stupid, Jeff Daniels starred along with Jim Carrey in one of the great comedies of the last 50 years, Dumb and Dumber. And so he did an interview over the weekend in which he was talking about the experience of doing Dumb and Dumber. And in that interview, he talks about in the first 2 weeks of shooting, he was doing everything alone. He was doing like Jim wasn't there. Now, he knew Jim was in the movie, but he just, every scene's like, oh, this is the scene in which you meet Swanson, and you're like, oh, this is the scene you do this alone. And he's like, okay, I'm never doing a scene with Jim. What the heck's going on?
Yeah.
He then realizes that, oh my God, they haven't fully decided that I'm in this movie. And it turns out that he was right, that the studio loved Jim Carrey. This was a Jim Carrey movie. But they totally did not see Jeff Daniels in this movie.
Yeah.
They totally said that you should put a comedian. He's not funny. He's been in, like, you know, he was in more dramatic roles. He was like Terms of Endearment. You know, we don't see him as a funny guy. We should put, like, a funny guy next to Jim Carrey. That'd be funny. And they're like, no, we want a legitimate actor. We think that'll be funnier, that if a legitimate actor is in this as opposed to just some other stand-up, because Jim's just going to go off kilter, and we want someone to kind of be the anchor who's still goofy but still knows how to act.
Yeah.
And they had this fight for like 2 or 3 weeks until they finally, the studio relented. It's like, fine, make your stupid movie, whatever. And it legitimately was the Farrell brothers who made the movie and Jim Carrey just like slamming their fists going, no, this is the guy we want. This is the guy we want. But he had to go through like 2 to 3 weeks of, he shot everything without Jim Carrey. Because they felt that, okay, if Jim Carrey's not in it, that's easy to replace these, because then we just get the second guy at the end to reshoot the stuff.
Right.
But if we're wasting Jim Carrey's time, this is the guy we're paying $20 million.
Right.
We're not going to waste that time.
Yeah.
But again, could you imagine if without Jeff Daniels, that's nowhere near as good a movie. But it just shows that these people who put these movies together have no clue what they're doing. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. I should be the head of every movie studio. I'll tell you if it works. Jeff Daniels works. Mark Wahlberg doesn't work.
Thank you.
That's how everything should be.
I will get you there if you take Mark Wahlberg out of all movies.
Out of all of them.
All of them.
He's in another movie this freaking week. He's in another one where I don't even know what the plot is. It's just one of those things. She's shooting guns. I don't even know what he's doing. I don't know. I
just looking short next to other people.
Yeah, well, that's
shooting guns.
Well, that's the other thing. They always have to get short actresses and short actors so he doesn't look like a midget.
Yeah, or they have to have the super specific camera angles. Like I was watching a movie not too long ago with him in it. It was such a fucking stupid movie. But like they had I could tell when they were shooting this one scene that the people were definitely much, much taller than him, and they had to use certain camera angles. So there's only one time where they were like next to each other and like, oh wait, he's short.
They do the same thing with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like the Nicole Kidman, when she was in Days of Thunder, Nicole Kidman's like a model. She's like almost 6 foot.
Large, yeah.
He was legitimately on boxes in some parts of the thing because they couldn't just have
Get a taller dude.
Yeah, maybe not get Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise grow a
But
little bit.
By the way, they are making Top Gun 2, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to that.
All right.
Something else I'm looking forward to is legalized weed. And in California, because they now have legalized weed, you can actually now, like how they have VFWs out here and they sell like tickets or they sell like Steeler jerseys. Out in California, to make money for charities, they're now selling giant doobies.
Nice.
That is a picture of a $24,000 golden joint. It's made out of golden rolling papers, and the weed in it. The rolling papers are $5,000. The weed in it is worth $19,000, and it's like 3 feet long. It's legitimately like every stoner movie, every Cheech and Chong giant joint has come to life, and now they are actually selling giant joints.
It's beautiful, honestly.
Now, the one thing they did, first off, it's supposed to made like an elephant tusk because it was raising money for like helping like kill poachers and stuff like that.
Oh, cute.
They're training dogs to like chase down poachers. I don't know if that's
nice.
going to work because usually poachers have guns and dogs don't. But the stoner idea.
Let's see.
Anyways, so the other thing that got me was they retailed the joint at $24,000. They only got $4,000 for it.
What?
Yeah. Because, again, it's stoners. These aren't, like, upwardly mobile, like, people that have $24,000 to spend on a joint.
Damn.
If, like, 20 of them got into it. But would you want to share a giant joint? By the way, they said that this is not a joint. They say, first off, this is high-quality weed. You take 2 or 3 puffs of this, you're going to be on the couch for, like, a week. It's not something to where, like, you'll get rid of it at a party. This is like a couple week type thing.
Unless you had a giant ass cool party.
Yeah, in which everyone takes a toke off the giant joint.
Yeah.
But it would have to be like
hundreds.
held. Yeah, it'd be like a giant festival in which everyone would take a toke off the joint.
That would be beautiful. It's such a community experience.
That's what we have. That's next year's Millville Music Festival.
Yeah.
In which we have a giant golden joint when you walk into Mr. Small's Theater, and everyone takes a giant toke of it. And then we get Wiz Khalifa to perform. Boom. Win.
Or we can be Wiz Khalifa.
By the way, did you know that the studio, like this is a big deal recently because Lev Bell, who is not going to like Steeler practices and wants to be a rapper even though he's terrible, he's actually recording with Wiz Khalifa. And apparently the big studio is in Etna, which is like right next door to Millvale.
Huh.
Yeah. So they're all like Lev Bell and Wiz Khalifa are just in Etna.
Should we go hang around there?
Maybe they should come hang out here.
Etna
and Millvale they're like brother communities.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're like that. If you live in Etna or you live in Millvale, you both go to the same high school. You both go to Shaler.
Why is it in Etna though? Etna's like there ain't nothing there.
Apparently, there's a music studio where Wiz Khalifa does Wiz Khalifa type stuff.
That's weird.
Yes, and then Lev Bell, who should be signing with the Steelers, but someone told him once he was a good rapper, even though he's not. Anyway, so again, they should get the $24,000 joint.
Yeah.
But again, it's Pennsylvania. We're lame. It'll be illegal. In California, it's legal. Finally, it's very difficult for me to really emphasize this enough. But this gentleman who I'm about to describe is the dumbest man out of Florida I've ever met in my life.
Tell us.
Okay, hold on the picture. Don't show the picture yet.
I'm not.
Okay. This guy buys meth from somebody. He's upset. He feels the meth is not up to the quality that he believes he deserves as a Florida meth user.
Okay.
He expects the top quality A-level meth. He's upset. So he decides to call the cops and say, hey, this guy sold me some really terrible meth. I want someone to arrest him or someone to make sure that I get my money back from this terrible meth. Now, the cops play along and say, oh, would you like us to test the meth to make sure that it's quality meth? And he goes, thank you.
Yeah.
I would really, really appreciate it if you would back me up that this is terrible meth. So he shows up to the police station with the meth and says, please test this meth and see if it's quality meth because I demand the excellent meth. They test it and go, yeah, this is meth. And oh, by the way, you're under arrest because you have meth, you moron. Dumbest human being. You have to be a level of moron to call the cops to have them test your meth. Now, to make this matter worse, the police in Florida posted on their Facebook page the following message. Please read.
It says, remember, our detectives are always ready to assist anyone who believes they were misled in their illegal drug purchase. And then his face.
Which, again, is a quality Florida man.
I mean, I guess maybe you just gotta be on meth. We don't know what that's like.
I don't know, yeah.
So maybe that's what makes you stupid.
But by the way, meth, Florida, that's a double whammy. That's like, okay, if you're meth in other states, I can understand you'd be smart enough not to call the cops. But meth and Florida, now you're at the point where you call the cops and you sit there and say, but full disclosure, I have a couple cop buddies. I remember I had one when I was doing concerts up in Connecticut, and I remember talking to him about a guy who called himself because he was smoking weed and he thought he was like dying.
Yeah.
And he goes, Mike, people call the cops all the time saying that their heroin is like weird or the weed that they got this guy. Like people will call like the cops and be shooting up in front of us. People are just weird people. But I truly believe that someone who it's one thing that when you're shooting up and you're high to call the cops, it's completely something different to call the cops, say, hey, I think I got ripped off with meth. Believe the cops when they say, hey, come in and we'll test it for you because, again, we're like the Better Business Bureau, apparently, of meth, and we'll take care of you, and then show up with the meth and stick around as they test it, and you drop phones. That's basically what, and again, Florida. Something's up in Florida. It's a weird place.
Something in the water, man.
Something is weird in Florida. Anyways, congratulations for this guy being... To be the dumbest man I've ever heard from Florida, that is an accomplishment. So we appreciate everyone who listens down in Florida. Now, it's our last segment called Comment Your Ass Off. Play the song, Alex.
Say hello to the world. Say hello to the villain that's been you.
Now, first off, in Comment Your Ass Off, I want to comment on a couple things that we had last week. Your mother commented on the Miss America controversy, because last week I was fixing Miss America, and she commented that she was like, well, if girls can be in the Boy Scouts, then men should be allowed to be in Miss America.
I agree. I think we do so many things for women to be equal, but I think we leave out men in a lot of circumstances.
I think a man should be able to win just, I'm America. Just call it America.
Yeah.
Just, I'm America. I win America.
Why can't we judge a bunch of men on their appearance?
I wouldn't be against it.
I'm sorry, their
well, by the way,
smarts.
you do. Yeah. And there better be then a swimsuit competition because you want to see bodies.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
They all gotta wear Speedos though.
Would you want Speedos?
Hell yes.
Or
because then I'd basically just be judging everyone on their package, not really what they look like.
Really? Could a guy with a giant package but an ugly face win Mr. America then?
Maybe. He'd have to have the whole everything, if he had an ugly face. It wouldn't be specifically, but it would go into his score.
Okay. Would you be if you judge because you're going to be a big time celebrity and you'd sit there and be like, I'll be honest with you, your face is like a 5, but your genitals are amazing and congratulations on that. Now here's the thing. Now you got to make sure that they're not like that's not a sock or something.
Yes.
So again,
do tests beforehand.
Yeah, someone's got to how would you test? Would you do a little flick or what would you do?
I'm not sure. There's just a person backstage.
You have
right
a trustworthy.
Before you walk on.
You gotta have a trustworthy person back there.
Oh yeah.
You gotta get somebody that understands that this is important and someone's just not stuffing socks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but again, I would agree with. By the way, I remember when Chris Rock hosted the Oscars. He was talking about he's a comedian, so it was funny on typically when Jimmy Kimmel does it or whatever. And he sat there and he goes, by the way, why is there a separate male and female for actor and actress.
Yeah.
What's the difference? There's not a male and female director one.
Yeah.
There's just the best director.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have the best actor or best person in a movie, and we could get out of here an hour early? And they all looked at him and went, like, they all clapped. They're like, oh, yes, you're absolutely right. We're never getting rid of that.
Never changing.
Yeah,
it.
they're never getting rid of it because of the fact that that means less awards for them. And Hollywood people would just turn into dust if you didn't just give them golden statues every couple months to prove that they're in Hollywood.
True.
So, God bless. Anyways, do we have any more comments for today?
We have one from Sam. He said, Mr. Rogers should have been given a morning radio show. That would have been very peaceful.
That would have been a very...
It's on like WYEP. I would have listened to it.
Speaking of WYEP, I did not know this. Again, Lady Antebellum, whatever, she helped start WYEP.
Well, I didn't know that.
That's how much the impact, again, on the community of Mr. Rogers.
Huh.
Yeah, there you go. So, but a morning radio show with Mr. Rogers, again, it would be definitely something on YEP. It would definitely be like a morning affirmation type deal.
Lady Aberlin from Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, so the one they didn't
Lady
interview.
Antebellum is a thing, and
Yeah.
that would have been confusing.
I don't know. I don't know things. I just know she was attractive. She was very attractive, especially back in the 60s.
I found her on Facebook, if you want to hit her up.
Cool.
I
don't know.
did, and she didn't answer me, so.
You know how much she's, especially with Fred Rogers being so hot. See, now you're being like the scary stalker type. You don't want to be
She doesn't
that.
even want to. She doesn't want to go on a date with me, and I don't know why.
I don't know. We'll go look into the camera and see if you can get some nice Fred Rogers stories out of her.
Yeah, give me some Fred Rogers stories and like a nice date.
There you go. Where would you take her out?
I feel like she'd like somewhere quaint, you know.
Something, yeah. You don't want to go to like Chi-Chi's or something.
Yeah,
like
we're going to Haas's.
Haas's. I think she'd be a good Haas's date.
Yeah, I'd take her there.
Yeah, get a big sirloin. Maybe get some low sodium soup. Anyways, so that was Comment Your Ass Off. That we just had the one?
Yep.
Cool. Anyways, again, comment over the long term, and we will mention during the week on our Comment Your Ass Off. Again, that is the Mike Sasson Show for this week. Now, next week, because I am at the Improv, and Alex, I believe, is drinking a lot on Sunday.
Yeah.
We will be doing our show Monday night, so be here and enjoying said show. Again, thank you, everyone who listens, and again, support local music at Yins Fest. Remember that? It's June 30th, right?
Yeah, June 30th.
June 30th here at Mr. Small's Theater. You got to support Yins Fest. And come out this weekend to the Pittsburgh Improv. See me perform, Colin Chamberlain and Adam Ferreira. It's going to be a wonderful time. And when you see Alex, tell her to, hey, nice lady. Anyways, Mike Sasson Show. See you later. Bye.